What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden here. Hopefully, everyone is doing extremely well today. We are here for another Mets Talk live stream going over the Subway Series. As you know, the New York Mets and the New York Yankees played a two-game set in which they split this past week. So definitely always exciting to talk about the Subway Series, a great rivalry for New York baseball and baseball as a whole. So, of course, we are going to be going over the Subway Series. Then, of course, we are going to be transitioning into the New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals series preview, as the St. Louis Cardinals are coming into town to play a three-game set against the New York Mets. Definitely a lot to discuss in regards to that. We're going to be going over, in terms of the Subway Series, the good, the bad, and the uglies. I like to say what went good and what went wrong for both of these teams, the Mets and the Yankees. Obviously, both of these teams, Subway Series, it was interesting, but the vibes definitely weren't as electric as in years past. We're going to be going over that. I guess what to expect and preview for the Mets and Cardinals, the Mets farm system, Mets news, IL updates, roster, anything. And then, of course, all of your guys' comments, questions, concerns, really anything related to the New York Mets and really any other Major League Baseball team. So, yeah, if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, say what's up in the chat. And, yeah, definitely please feel free to leave your inquiry, your opinion, and your takes in the comment section below. So before we get into that, everyone smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, tell your friends about this channel. Let's get to 800 subscribers. That is the goal, is to get to 800 subscribers. Maybe by the All-Star break. I think that's a little bit of a kind of an ambitious goal. But you know what? Screw it. Why not? Let's go for it. So let's get to 800 by the All-Star break. But yeah, now let's stop wasting any more time and let's go over to this Mets and Yankees series. So it was stated it was a two-game set, the Mets and the Yankees at Citi Field, and they split it. So, I guess that's what most Mets fans expected. I was under what I expected. I thought the Mets would go 0-2, but no, they went 1-1. So they split it. So I think any Mets fan will take that. Any Yankee fan will take that before even going into the Subway Series, knowing that they'll split it. But getting started, obviously, the New York Mets in Game 1 lost 7-6, which was Tuesday's game. And yeah, obviously, you had Max Scherzer on the bump, and Scherzer with a shit outing. I mean, no way to sugarcoat it. He looked like shit. He was dialed in the beginning. Obviously, the first two innings, he was really dialed in. 3 1/3, 7 hits, 6 runs, 0 walks, 2 strikeouts. So, like we said, the first 2 innings, he was dialed in. He gave up a home run to Stanton. Otherwise, he was clean. His fastball was good. His slider looked good. Rotation looked good. The Yankees were swinging and missing at a lot of his pitches. The fourth inning came, and yeah, he just got into a lot of jams. The Yankees were just kind of beasting the ball all around the field and kind of beating up Scherzer. We know that, Scherzer got into a lot of 0-2 counts and just couldn't execute on the third pitch. He just couldn't get that put-away pitch, and he would just lose command of the strike zone. And that's kind of been a big thing for this team this season is, they constantly get to 0-2 counts for their pitching, and then they just, somehow draw 4 walks, or they'll put it in play, and they need to execute. They need to start being aggressive. I'm not saying throw, a 4-seam fastball right over the plate, but, they need to start being a little bit more aggressive. So Scherzer, yeah, a bad outing. He got booed off the field. I don't blame the fans for booing. I frankly would have done the same. Scherzer, horrible outing. Yeah, I mean, this was a start that he really needed, obviously. And, the offense did their job, but Scherzer didn't. And that's an issue. Following that, obviously, it's the 4th inning, and you're making the call to the bullpen. That's a concern. Dominic Leone came in. Dominic Leone came in, an inning and 2/3, 2 strikeouts, looked pretty good. So not a bad start for him. Josh Walker came in for a third of an inning, 2 hits, a run, a strikeout. Jeff Brigham for 2/3. Drew Smith came in. Drew Smith immediately came in, didn't even throw a single pitch because he went to the pitcher's mound and he got ejected and suspended for an illegal substance allegedly on his hand.
I'm not really complaining because I don't really care for Drew Smith that much. I know I know it sounds bad to say, but it's not like Drew Smith has been a great guy for this team as it is. So cool. John Curtis came in for 2 innings, definitely a big appearance for him, and then David Robertson for an inning to strike out 2. Pitching, the bullpen did their job. The fact is that this bullpen came into the 4th inning and went all the way to the 9th and only gave up 1 run. That's good. But unfortunately, your starting pitcher and Max Scherzer, the guy who you're paying, all this money to, didn't execute. And it's horrible that we're sitting here begging for guys like Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander to go 7 innings, 6 innings, and give up a run or 2. Scherzer looked like he had it. His last start in Atlanta wasn't great. It was kind of a weird with the 10 strikeouts but 5 runs. And then, the 4 starts before that, he looked great. And, is this going to be what we're getting from Scherzer this season? And Verlander is just these inconsistencies. But yeah, the pitching, the bullpen did their job. It's just Scherzer was really the only guy that didn't. And listen, you could say what you want about defense and sloppy plays, but, 6 runs, that's inexcusable for a starter that's making that much money in 3 1/3 innings. So, yeah, obviously, let's get into the offense. In the offense, the Mets scored first, obviously, bright and early. In the first inning, the Mets decided to put some runs on the board, so you like to see that. Obviously, Brandon Nimmo had a solo home run to right center, 429 feet. So good to see Nimmo with some nice power there, swinging second pitch of the game for the Mets. So very aggressive hitting there. A couple of bats later in the first inning, Brett Beatty has an RBI single to center to bring in Francisco Alvarez. So we see the Mets score 2 runs in the first inning. That's the first time this year that's happened. And that was what, like June 13th? It's pretty bad. That's sad. Heading on into the second inning, Jeff McNeil has a 2-run RBI single to left to bring in Mark Canha and Brandon Nimmo. In the third inning, Mark Canha has an RBI ground out to bring in Starling Marte. And then in the 5th inning, Luis Guillorme has an RBI single to left to bring in Brett Beatty. So, yeah, this was a game that just went wrong for the Mets in really numerous ways. They started off good, and then that 4th inning came, and Scherzer just got lit up. It kind of seems like everything flip-flopped. The Mets were scoring. Their offense looked very hot in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd inning. They were working up Severino's pitch count, making him draw a lot of walks, just very uncomfortable. They looked aggressive. They were stealing on the bases. They were getting good leads, and they looked like a good team in the first 4 innings. And then the 4th inning came, and Scherzer completely screwed it up, wet the bed, and then their offense decided to go to sleep, and then the Mets just couldn't hit the Yankees bullpen. So, who's to blame? Well, this game is on Scherzer. It's that simple. Your offense scored 6 runs. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, they didn't score after, the Yankees took the lead. No. Your pitching should, your ace, who you were paying all this money to, should not be going 3 1/3 innings, giving up 6 runs. It's been the moral of the story for the Mets this season. Their pitching sucks. So Mets lose 7-6. Josh Walker gets the L. Should have been Scherzer, but what are you going to do? And now game 2, which was Wednesday's game. Obviously, a lot of excitement in Wednesday's game. Big appearances for both of these guys. We had Justin Verlander versus Garrett Cole, and it was definitely a pitcher's duel for the first couple innings. So Garrett Cole had a no-hitter, I believe, going into the 5th inning, but the Mets stopped that. But Justin Verlander looked good. Obviously, a big needed start for Verlander. I sound like a broken record saying that, Verlander, can he build off of this? Well, I'm sure next appearance he'll go, 4 innings, giving up 6 runs. But with that said, yeah, Justin Verlander looked good. 6 innings, 3 hits, a run, 0 walks, 6 strikeouts. Pitch count was high, but at the end of the day, he gave you a quality start. And that's really all I'm going to sit here and ask for. To give up 1 run, that's needed. Verlander looked good. Didn't really get behind in the account, got very ahead in the account. A lot of ground balls, not many fly balls. So you like to see, he's keeping the ball on the ground. Mixed up his pitches very well. Slider, fastball, change. Really no complaints with Verlander for the most part. Looked pretty good. Looked strong on the mound. Bullpen came in. To an extent held down the fort. Jeff Brigham, 2/3 of an inning, 2 runs, a walk, a strikeout. Brooks Raley came in for a third of an inning, giving up a hit and then an out. Ottavino, an inning. Robertson, an inning. And Leone, an inning. So, yeah, definitely some important pitching by your bullpen to come in and pitch many innings that are needed. Obviously, this bullpen did a lot of work this series, so they're definitely deserving of some credit by no means. So, obviously, with that said, the Mets, the Mets pitching staff only giving up 3 runs, 6 hits, and the offense stepped up. They did their job. They scored later in the game, but hey, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter when you score as long as you score and win the ball game. In the 5th inning, Tommy Pham has an RBI double to right to bring in Francisco Lindor to break open this ball game. In the 7th inning, bases loaded, Brandon Nimmo was hit by a pitch to bring in Francisco Alvarez. Later on in the 7th inning, Mark Vientos has an RBI single to left to bring in Eduardo Escobar. And then in the 10th inning, to walk it off, we are in extra innings. Brandon Nimmo had an RBI double to deep center to bring in Eduardo Escobar. Brandon Nimmo, the Mets hero, obviously he had, kind of a rough series. Obviously that inadequate decision on the base pass when he was running. He dropped that fly ball, which should have been catchable in game 1. So yeah, obviously Nimmo, mentally had an interesting series, but was able to turn it around, and who cares? Brandon Nimmo has the RBI walk-off. So that was definitely needed from Nimmo. Send the Mets home happy. Send the Yankees away kind of, I guess, a little upset. I mean, you split the series, so I guess both teams are overall satisfied with the general results. But yeah, Mets win this game 4-3. Dominic Leone with the win. Brandon Nimmo, the Mets player of the game. Obviously, Nimmo going 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and the game-winning hit. So yeah, definitely a much-needed start. This was an interesting series. I mean, I will say, and, they said it on the broadcast, and I'm going to echo it. The vibes at the stadium were very, very dead. Not very, wasn't electric. Not much energy. And, there were a lot of Yankee fans at Citi Field, not many Met fans, which I don't blame the Mets fans for not showing up. The team's not playing well, so you're not going to sell tickets. Simple. But, yeah, it just wasn't really an electric series. You didn't really see a whole lot of, I don't know, just it didn't seem loud. And, I think that could be, both of these teams are kind of in a rough spot. The Yankees are 9 games over 500, but they're 9.5 games back in that division in 3rd place. They're, the AL East is really just a tough division. You don't want to be in that division. And, the Mets are in 4th place, 10.5 games back from Atlanta. So, these are 2 teams that are, if the playoffs were to end right now, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. I don't know if the Yankees would be at least. But, yeah, so obviously we'll see maybe the next time the Subway Series gets played at home or our Yankee Stadium. My apologies. Maybe the vibes can be a little bit better. We're really just going to have to see how that honestly kind of goes. But yeah, with that said, that is the New York Mets and the New York Yankees series summary. So now let's get into the Mets and Cardinals series preview. So yeah, the Mets are continuing to play a 3-game set. Cardinals are coming into town. And yeah, taking a look-see at the St. Louis Cardinals, they are a team. Listen, say what you want about the Mets having a rough season. Say what you want about the Padres. Say what you want about the Phillies. But, you look at the Cardinals. If someone's going to sit here and say, Hayden, who's the most disappointing team in baseball right now? It's by far the St. Louis Cardinals. This is the team right now that is 27-42, 14-21 on the road, and has the 3rd worst record in MLB. Obviously, the Royals and Athletics are the 2 other teams. So, yeah, the Cardinals are just really having a rough year. Nobody, I don't think anyone would have, projected in March and in the offseason that the Cardinals would be the 3rd worst team in baseball coming, whatever today's date is, June 16th. That is crazy. And I think, the Cardinals obviously been just having a rough season. Goldschmidt and Arenado are playing well. Are they playing like MVP caliber? I don't know about that, but they're playing well. They're definitely playing above average. But I think a big part is just their pitching staff, their bullpen. Offensively, the team's doing pretty decent. They're not getting on base a whole lot, but They're hitting for power. They're driving in runs that need to for the most part, but their pitching staff, the Cardinals pitching staff has been horrible. Pitching staff and bullpen. Obviously, I mean, Ryan Helsley is on the IL, which is definitely a little bit of a blow. But yeah, I mean, just guys like Miles Michaelis, really the rest of their starters just haven't been, even guys like Wainwright are just not having good years. It sucks. The Cardinals are definitely a respectable organization, in my opinion. So, I hate to see them play very badly and very poorly. But yeah, I mean, this is a team that's been struggling really for the whole season. So, I mean, we're really just going to have to wait here and I guess kind of see what's going on. Obviously Jordan Walker, he hasn't really panned out quite yet. Wilson Contreras, that contract isn't looking great. He's been really bad. But, guys like Arenado, Goldschmidt, Gorman, are playing well, but you can only do so much. As a Mets fan, you can only do so much when your pitching is, not providing anything. Obviously, guys like Steven Matz, we know him, not doing well. Jordan Montgomery, not doing well. Miles Michaelis, not doing well. Giovanni Gallegos, Jordan Hicks, Matthew Libator. I mean, their pitching just overall has really let down this season. And that's a big reason to where they are now. So, yeah, with that said, the Mets are going into a 3-game set. The Cardinals, are on an interesting losing streak. I believe they lost their last 6 or 7 games. They got swept against the Giants and I believe the Reds too. So, yeah, they're definitely in a very interesting spot right now. But, yeah, with that said, the Mets are coming in. Obviously, they won the last game of the Subway Series, and they're going to hope to try and start a win streak. We will see. The Mets are obviously 2-3 in their last 5. But coming in with that, the Mets are starting with Tyler McGill on the bump. Game 1 tonight, 7:10 Eastern Standard Time. And, yeah, McGill is in a very interesting spot right now. I mean, I think it comes to the point with McGill where, could this be the determination of McGill's future, with what role he's going to be? If McGill goes out there tonight and gives you this bullshit, 3 innings, 4 innings, 5 runs, pitch count through the roofs, and, making your bullpen have to come in early and, puts the Mets out of the ball game. Yeah, I would not be surprised if the Mets consider putting him in the bullpen or sending him back down to AAA Syracuse. Obviously, guys like Jose Quintana could be back very soon, and a lot of other bullpen arms. So, McGill just has not been having it this year. He's had, 1 or 2 good starts. Otherwise, the 10, 15 other starts he's had have really been bad to average. You look at his stats, 5-4, 5.14 ERA, 1.70 WHIP. I mean, that is flat out unacceptable. And I don't need to sit here and explain how that's bad. Those numbers are horrible. 63 innings pitched this year, 72 hits, 49 strikeouts, 35 walks. I mean, the dude almost walks as many guys as he strikes out. McGill's command of the strike zone is not there. His stride is much shortened. This Mets team destroyed his release point. We know that. He's a big guy, and they destroyed his release point. He's not bridging any, thing with a cutter. He's just going out there, fastball, slider, and, those 2 pitches are just not looking good for him. And I think right now with Tyler McGill, it's getting very frustrating with him. He was a guy that was a big part to this team's success last year and 2021. But, right now the Mets are showing that if you're a pitcher and you're not playing well, you're either going to get sent down or put in the bullpen. And I think tonight is going to be a big start for McGill. It's against a Cardinals team that is struggling. Offensively, they're decent, but still, I would hope they would have the lead for a decent amount of the game, but we'll see. I have no confidence in Tyler McGill right now. None. It's crazy because last year at this time, I would say I do. But, like I said, if McGill goes out there and gives you 4 innings, gives up 5, 6, 7 runs, yeah, he's done. I would send him down to AAA. I don't even know if I'd put him in the bullpen because if his command is going to be that crappy, the last thing you want to do as a reliever is walk guys. So we'll see. And, with guys like Quintana coming back, this may be McGill's last start potentially. So we will see. But if, ideally, if he can give you 5, 6 innings, a run, 2, that's fine. And obviously for the Cardinals, they would love Miles Michaelis, a dude who, obviously got that extension with the Cardinals and, hasn't really panned out super well. Command of the strike zone is there to an extent, but obviously a lot of hard contact for Michaelis. And obviously the Mets lineup was released tonight, so we will go over that in a couple minutes. But yeah, that is game 1, McGill versus Michaelis. Going into game 2, which is tomorrow's game, which is at 4:10 Saturday game. The New York Mets will have Kodai Senga on the bump. Obviously, Senga is practically your ace. Senga is the ace of this team by no means. Senga obviously is going to be coming in and should hopefully have a good outing. Obviously, he had a good outing on the road at Pittsburgh, and that was kind of something that he's really struggled with so far this year, is having good outings on the road, and he has. Senga, obviously, so far this season is 6-3, 3.34 ERA, 1.39 WHIP. Senga's been looking pretty good so far this season. I would say really the only negatives, the only cons you could take out of Senga is really just the command of the strike zone and the walks. Those are kind of my only 2 concerns. Otherwise, Senga's a very nasty, very filthy guy. The ghost forkball and the fastball, that's a very, very dangerous combination to confuse a lot of hitters in a lineup. And we'll see if this Cardinals lineup is going to be able to figure out his forkball. We know the Phillies lineup, just couldn't. But we'll see. Could they figure it out later in the game, the 3rd time around the order, or will they not? So we'll see how Kodai Senga goes against the St. Louis Cardinals. Obviously, expectations with Senga. You'd like to see him keep that ghost forkball intact, get those swinging and misses, get those whiffs, get the high chasing. Let him chase outside the zone, let him chase in the dirt. I would imagine Alvarez will be behind the plate. I'll say Senga and Alvarez work pretty well together. I do think that is a good combination for them. I like them working together. So we'll see what Senga could do. Obviously, you'd like to go deep into the game. You want to give your bullpen a little bit of rest. And Senga's been going deep into games. We've been seeing appearances where Senga's going 6-7 innings. And obviously, for the St. Louis Cardinals, they will have Adam Wainwright. Adudu also really just has not been having it this year. Started off on the IL, came into the season a little bit later, and just hasn't been having it. Not going deep into games and just has been bad. Not going to sugarcoat. And getting into game 3, the final game of this 3-game set, Sunday's game, a 1:40 Eastern Standard start. The New York Mets will have Carlos "Cookie" Carrasco on the bump. Carrasco, he's in need of a good start also. His last appearance against the Pirates gave up 2 runs, but the Mets just were not able to score for him. So, I hate to give him the L, but that's just kind of going to be how it is. Obviously, for Carlos Carrasco, he's 2-3 on the season, 5.71 ERA, 1.46 WHIP. But you look at the other stats: 41 innings, 42 hits, 24 strikeouts, 18 walks, 8 homers. So this Mets team loves to walk guys. That's one thing you can see from the rotation this year. They love to give up walks and home runs, and that is the 2 worst things a starter could do. Especially Carrasco, he loves Senga too. Loves getting 2 outs and then walks a guy, gives up a hit, walks a guy. It's just, once you get 2 outs, execute. Be aggressive. But don't throw like a stupid hanging slider right over the plate, but, be a little bit aggressive. So we need to start seeing that. And then for the St. Louis Cardinals, they will have the southpaw and the lefty Matthew Liberatore. I believe I pronounced that last name right. My apologies if I did not. But he obviously, once again, short sample size, obviously. He's only pitched 21 innings this year. Been up and down since AAA, but he also really hasn't had the best of luck so far this season. The walks are a concern, hard contact, home runs with some sort. So, we'll see how that goes. But, obviously the Mets, Cardinals coming into this 3-game set, both teams are kind of having a disappointing season. I would say the Cardinals are having a much disappointing season than the Mets. Obviously, the Cardinals are in a really inadequate position. Where, at least the Mets are a couple games back. The Mets just need a good series or 2, and then they're kind of back above 500, where the Cardinals are, 13 games out of, 13 games under. And, that's the last thing you want to see if you're a St. Louis fan. So, we're really just going to have to wait and see how it goes. Ideally, I don't really know what to expect going into this series. The Mets have played bad teams this season, and then they look like bad teams themselves. They go play against the Rockies, and they make them look like, the Mets look like a AAA team. Or, so we'll see. Ideally, I would love to have confidence and say 2 or 3, but can I? Cardinals run a losing streak, and of course, it'd probably be the Mets to end it for them. So I really don't know the confidence level with this team right now. So I'm just gonna say it. I guess they'll take 2 or 3, but I can't be so certain. So ideally, a couple guys that I'm hoping to have a good series. Number one, I'm gonna go with Mark Canha. He's been a big piece to this Mets offense recently. We really see him, his swing, uh, obviously swinging for a little bit more power lately, hitting for some more power, hitting the ball a little bit harder. And I think obviously he changed up his swing to have a result of that. So yeah, Canha's been looking pretty good. He had a good series in Pittsburgh. Good series, past 4 or 5 series. So I think Canha, he's at home. I think he'll have a good series. So he's my first guy to keep an eye out for. Number 2 is Brandon Nimmo. Obviously, Nimmo's been a big part to this Mets offense this whole season. He's been, I would say, consistent for at least 95% of the season. He's been pretty good, I would argue, offensively. We love Nimmo. He gets on base. Great leadoff guy. But I think, obviously, he had the walk-off in the last game, and I think that morale and that high energy is going to carry with him into the St. Louis series. And my third and final guy is going to be Kodai Senga. I think Senga is going to have a really, really good outing. I think we could see Senga going like 6-7 innings. Who knows? Fuck it. I think he'll have like 10 strikeouts. Why not? There's not much to be happy with this season, so maybe I can make it up at least. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Obviously for the Cardinals, usual guys: Goldschmidt, Arenado, Gorman. But pitching staff hasn't really been great. So, with this Mets team, you have to, this is a Cardinals pitching team that is not doing well, and they have to take advantage of that. It's the offense that needs to, the offense puts up 5-6 runs, you should win a ball. You should win. You should win. There's no excuses. I don't want to see Tyler McGill shit, go out there and, 3 innings and 7 runs. You can't have that. Pitching wins championships. I said it enough. The reason the Mets are not in the position they are now is because they're pitching. That simple. When your offense scores 6 runs, you should win. When you go to Colorado and score 10 runs and you still manage to lose, what? You want your offense to score 20 instead of 10? No. So, yeah, we're really going to have to see how that goes. Obviously, this weekend, Yankees and Red Sox are playing, so that's a cool little rivalry right there. Blue Jays and Rangers is a decent rivalry, I guess, because of the Odor and Bautista situation from a couple years ago. So, yeah, got a couple good series to keep an eye out for in regards to this weekend. I know the weather, obviously I don't live in New York, I live in Florida, but from what I've heard is the weather is not going to look super great. So let me see what the dealio with the weather is. So Flushing, weather, New York. So obviously it is raining right now in City Fields. It says it's raining right now at 3:30. However, it says at 6 it'll stop, 9 there'll be no rain. So hopefully it won't carry over. Hopefully they can get the fields dry and clean. If there's a 10 minute delay just to clean it up, it is what it is. The air quality is still poor. That's great. Well, not great, but you know what I mean. I'm trying to find the weather because I see someone's asking in the chat, and I don't live in New York, so I can't just really look outside or go to my local weather. Or I could just go on my iPhone like anyone else in 2023. Give me 1 second, guys. I don't have Flushing weather. Flushing. So, yeah, obviously, I think I'll get the game in. We'll see. 30% chance of rain at 8, 40 at 9, 40 at 10. Yeah, it's a 6 and 7. It'll be clear. So it depends. If it's a light drizzle, maybe you'll get it. The last thing you want is a doubleheader. We know the Mets have had so many of those this season, and that's kind of been a big reason to why they are the position they are in now. Obviously, you don't want to kill your pitching. Obviously, an extra day off wouldn't be the worst thing, I guess, in the world. But, so you had an off day yesterday. So we shall see kind of what the plan is for the Mets and Cardinals series. So, yeah, let's get into some of your guys' comments, questions, concerns. So what is going on, everyone? Starting off with Cedric. Cedric says, Mets confidence level is low for me. No, Cedric, I mean, I think that's a fair take. I mean, considering how this team has looked right now and how they've been playing, I'd be a liar if I came on here and said I'm confident. I mean, I put a poll out on YouTube. I think I got like 150 or something responses. And I said, how confident with you are the Mets going to turn it around this season? And my options were very confident, somewhat confident, not confident, season's over. And a lot of people were not and somewhat. I think it was kind of like 50-50. So, yeah, I really don't blame everyone for kind of, being in the position they are right now. I'll tell you, I'm not confident playing the Cardinals. And it's the Cardinals, the team who's not playing well this year. I have no confidence in them right now. So this team has had 1,000 opportunities to really turn their season around. Walk-offs, catches, comebacks, whatever. And just, they haven't really been able to, they just don't seem to really ride high on that. So, it's absolutely getting frustrated. And I absolutely could see why a lot of Mets fans are getting very upset. When is enough? When is it time? You need to essentially get hot. There's no more excuses. Zero more excuses. So, yeah. Gio, how's it going? Lane, how's everyone doing? Mark's here. Trey, how's it going? Michael, Captain Morgan, Alex, Gio, Lane, how's it going, everyone? Cedric says, love the content. Let's go, Amazins. Appreciate it, man. Cal, how's it going? Lane says the Mets are wearing black uniforms tonight. It is Friday, so they should be wearing them tonight. Kobe, what's going on? He says a decent Subway Series on to the next. Yeah, pretty much. Like I said, that's all you could do, man. Somewhat decent Subway Series. Move past it, go on to the next. Paul, how's it going? Captain Morgan says the 2023 team has been frustrating to watch. Fingers crossed they can turn. They can go on a run and turn things around, and that's what they're going to need to do. I mean, this is a team that really has never really been a second half team, historically, but maybe there's a possibility. Historically they've been a team that always does well in the first half and then kind of sucks in the second half. So maybe you turn it around. Maybe you don't play well in the first half and then come in, July, August, September, you turn it around. You saw that with the Phillies last year and Braves and good amount of other teams that have done that. So, maybe the Mets will change things up. Timothy, what's going on? No, not much. Living the dream. Yeah, Drew Smith is out for 10 games, Lane. Yeah, I don't really know the whole deal with that. We know that Drew Smith was ejected and then later suspended. He went out to the mound. His hand was sticky. The umpire said it was sticky. And then they ejected him. And then Drew Smith went into the, dugout, clubhouse, whatever. An MLB official touched it and said he didn't really see anything on his hand. But the umpire said his hand was just really sticky and didn't see anything. So I don't know. Is it come to the point where it's sweat and rosin? And, if so, it's sweat and rosin, okay, but there's no limit. You can't have a law. You can't have a rule or something implemented when there's no limitation on it. MLB put out this rule saying no illegal substances. And an excessive amount of pitch and rosin, of rosin can be included in that. Okay, so sweat and rosin, obviously. I mean, I'm not a big science guy, but sweat and rosin, yeah, if it's really hot out and you're sweating excessively, it'll become sticky. But what amount of rosin is limited? Is there like a weight limit, an ounce, whatever measurement you want to use? And that's what MLB doesn't have implemented. They just say, an excessive amount is arbitrary and illegal. Well, what's that amount? Because if that's the case, and and honestly, I do think it's stupid. And listen, I'm not going to say, oh, they're after the Mets. I don't really think that's the case. I don't know. We've seen a lot of umpires, when their hands are sticky, they just tell them to wash their hands. They come back and then they're fine, and then you get pitch. Where we see other umpires, they touch it, it's and then they get tossed. So I don't know. We'll see. I see. No, Kobe, exactly. That is what I'm going for. Alyssa says the Mets need to get fired up and change their culture and chemistry ASAP before it's too late. They need to. One thing one thing I will mention in regards to their chemistry and I guess getting fired up, Alyssa, it's good you bring that point up, is this team lately has been looking very depressed. And I mean, I don't blame them. I think if I was a New York Met, I would be too. But yeah, right now, this team has been looking very I don't want to say like melancholy or something, but yeah, they don't look, you see them in the dugout and they all look kind of depressed. They look like zombies. Last year during the games, everyone would be up. They all be on the railing, talking, goofing off, focused on the game. Where this year, everyone's sitting down. You don't really see anyone on the railing. Yeah. I think right now, the morale of this team and the ambitions and positivity, what is there to be? I don't think there's positivity going on from Cohen to the last guy on the 26, 27 man roster. So, yeah, I mean, things need to change. And you notice they're carrying it onto the field. This team has been looking very sloppy lately. Defensively, they have like 11 errors in the last 12 games. They've been very sloppy. A team that is great defensively. And now they're looking very sloppy. Everyone. They're just, whether it's a routine play, they're botching it or overthrowing it or making an error, flat out simple. Whether it's a mistake on the base paths, defensively, they're looking very sloppy. And I think it's, starting to carry on to the field, and that's a concern. It's one thing if you're not playing well, but then, when it starts to hit you mentally and you carry it onto the field, yeah, that's a concern. So we'll see. They need to change things around. And Cal, that's a good question. Cal says, what's the next step after a closed door meeting doesn't work? Yeah, we know that after Pittsburgh, before Atlanta, they had a meeting and so they got swept in result to it. They swept Atlanta and then they had it before Pittsburgh and only won, 2 games since that out of 4, 3. So you're 2-3 since that meeting. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know what's next. I mean, I tell you, I think someone needs to be fired. You need to show a message. Showing a message is one of the most powerful things that you could do. Because clearly yelling and clearly having a coaches meeting isn't going to work. You need someone like Billy Epler to go into that clubhouse and go ape shit on these players. He needs to throw a chair. He needs to go off on them. Because clearly Buck Showalter is not firing his guys up, and clearly no one else is. You need a fight. You need a brawl. You need something to hype because this team looks boring. Not to sound like Frank, but they sound lifeless. They do. So, yeah, I think when it comes down to it, Billy Epler or someone needs to go off. So, we will see. But, yeah, I think someone needs to be fired. I think you need to fire someone like Jeremy Hefner, and then that shows a message that, okay, guys are getting fired now. Get your shit together. Because, we see this is a good team on paper. On paper, statistically, this is a great team. But everyone is underperforming with the exclusion of, like, Nimmo, Alvarez, and Alonso, and maybe Senga. Lane says, I hope that Tyler McGill pitching good. Yeah, I mean, I hope McGill could pitch good tonight. He needs to. Cedric, what's going on? Hayden, should the Mets designate Vogelbach and Leone for assignment and call up Mauricio and Lavender from Syracuse? I don't think they will. What's going on? He says, my daughter's name is Hayden too, my friend. Oh, that's cool. Hayden is a good name. What's the news on Pete Alonso, says Lane? I don't really think there's much. We know that he actually looked good. He's actually been looking really, really good. He was out fielding ground balls with one of the coaches before the Subway Series, I think. He was at that fundraiser thing for Jeff McNeil, and he was out of no cast, no medical braces or anything on his hand. He looked fine. He was, so honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he returns in 2 weeks, maybe a week, yeah, the fact that he's back to baseball activities, I mean, that's pretty good. He was fielding ground balls at first base with one of the coach's staff before the Subway Series. And I mean, right now, you saw him at McNeil's event. He didn't have a cast or anything on, no medical bandages. So, yeah, I think maybe we'll see him in a week or two. You never know. Maybe they'll DH him at first, but we'll see. Cal says Francisco Alvarez is becoming a star in front of our eyes. Francisco Alvarez is becoming a star in our eyes. The future is looking bright on the offensive side for the Mets years to come. Absolutely. Yeah, no, Alvarez has been a great piece to this team so far this year. The power, his bat, the defense behind the plate. I mean, for once, you actually have a good presence behind the plate. And that's so important in baseball now. So, yeah, I'm very confident. I'm very confident for the Mets catching position for the next couple of years. Kobe, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I could easily see it tomorrow, and I could easily see it in a month from now. But as of right now, I don't really think the Mets have plans or ambitions to call it Mauricio. Ghost Fork, exactly. Lane says, do you cut Peterson from the Mets and do you DFA Vogelbach? I don't think they're going to DFA Vogelbach. Unless you call up Mauricio and he starts going AWOL. Yeah, I don't know if they'll cut Peterson. We know Peterson had a horrible outing yesterday in Syracuse, and I don't think there's any plans on him being called up, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he does get cut soon. For God's sake, stick with Vogelbach DH. He'll give you 25 homers. What's there to think about? $1 million question. Marks here says, I've said it once and I'll say it again. The front office needs to start setting lineups because Buck Showalter cannot be trusted. No, exactly. These lineups have been horrible. And you look at the lineup tonight, right? Let's pull up the lineup tonight. Now you look at this Mets lineup. Give me 1 second. Let's go to the lineup for tonight's game. So today is the 16th. So you go to the lineup for tonight's game, right? Oh, no, that's tomorrow. So tonight's game, the lineup consists of Brandon Nimmo, Starling Marte, Jeff McNeil, Francisco Lindor, Brett Beatty, Tommy Pham, Daniel Vogelbach, Mark Canha, and Omar Narvaez. So obviously you have Vogelbach back DHing. Narvaez behind the plate. No more Vientos and no Francisco Alvarez. You had an off day yesterday, so there's really no excuse that Alvarez can't catch. You don't want Alvarez to catch? Fine. You could put him at DH. I don't know what Buck Showalter's fascination with Vogelbach is, but it needs to stop. Needs to stop soon. So, yeah, starting to get very frustrating with that. But yeah, Vogelbach in the DH spot, very embarrassing. And no Vientos after, Vientos gets a hit, his award is getting benched. That's Buck Showalter's mentality. Wayne says we need the Mets to start getting runs and hits. Yeah, the fundamental hitting with 2 outs, runners in scoring position is getting better. It's just their pitching has just been absolutely garbage this year, and that's the main blame. Cal, it is. And, I don't know if you heard me by rant about it 2 minutes ago, but they are. They're starting to carry it onto the field. They are. Captain Morgan says, I really like Senga. His passion and discipline on the mound is superb. Yeah, no, I like Kodai Senga. I think he's a very respectable ball player. Yankees at Red Sox. Yep, that'll be tonight. Surely hope this is our turnaround moment. Definitely meets the criteria of the walk-off. Yeah, as it should be. Sorry about that. Captain Morgan says the Mets have to take 2 or 3 from the Cardinals. Only way to break the tough schedule till the All-Star break. Getting to the point that if they drop many more games under 500, that a wild card could be hard. I suspect the Mets will be 10-12 under 500 and out of races by the All-Star break if they can't beat teams like the Cardinals. Yeah, pretty much. If the Mets only win 1 of 3 or get swept by St. Louis, then what do you want? What do you want them to do? Face the Athletics and the Royals so they can make them look like good teams? I agree with that. LFGM, what's going on? Cal says Mets need to win this series. Cardinals have the 3rd worst record in MLB and a losing streak. Mets need to start their own winning streak. Yeah, they do. They do. Yeah, exactly. Trey, thank you. Trey put the stats down. That's the slash line, 2 stolen bases. So, yeah, Canha's been having a pretty good June so far. Yeah, I hate the pitch clock, too. Yeah, Lane, I don't like the pitch clock. I've said it a lot on the channel. The Mets need to bring in David Wright as a manager. Yeah, I don't think he's quite ready to be a manager yet. Obviously, I know he has some title with the Mets. I don't know what it is. He's some, advisor or something. But maybe in a couple of years, if he gets a coaching experience under his belt, it could be a possibility. Justin Verlander pitched good for the Mets. Yeah, this is his last outing he did. Hopefully he can carry it over. That is really going to be a big thing with Justin Verlander. And, really a lot of your other aces is if they can continue to carry their success over. So we are really just going to have to wait and see on how everything else goes with that. But, yeah, otherwise we're probably going to get ready to call it a stream here. I don't know if anyone else has Any more comments, questions, concerns, anything related to the Mets or any other baseball team? If you do, please feel free to comment it in the comment section below. Crossface, what's going on? He says maybe Vogelbach has something over Buck. Yeah, I don't really know what the thing is with Buck Showalter. I don't know what his fascination is with his veterans. I mean, he loves playing. I'm sure if it was Buck Showalter making the lineup 100%, I'm sure he'd much rather include Escobar and Vogelbach over the kids and the young and the rookies. I don't know why. It's the $1 million question. Why? You had an off day yesterday. Okay, fine. You want to give Alvarez an extra day of rest from catching? DH him. Don't understand why. And I know I hate coming on here and sounding clueless on a certain subject, but this is the one subject I'm clueless on. I don't understand it. Like I said, you cannot win ball games when your DH is a guy that offers no power, doesn't pull the ball. And regardless of that, and as it's raining outside now, say what you want about Vogelbach with his OBP. Well, yeah, he doesn't swing the bat. So, yeah, if he takes 7 pitches, he's going to have a full count. Or, 5 pitches. My apologies. My math was off. He doesn't swing the bat. Swing the fucking bat. He swings the bat like once a plate appearance. Or once a game. And he gets on base. Cool. He's not a threat. He's never stolen a base his career. He's a liability. He's a station-to-station guy. And he'll make stupid, round like third, really round second aggressively and get picked off like an idiot. Yeah, Vogelbach has no purpose in this lineup. He doesn't play a position. He can't hit lefties. Okay, well, what's the point? Cut him. If there's that many things to say about this guy, then cut him. Heck, why don't I play? I mean, I could easily stand up in the batter's box and not swing the bat. I wouldn't play a position. I could fit the same criteria. Maybe go up 200 pounds, but regardless of that, I fit the same criteria. I love Vogelbach as a player, back in Milwaukee and Seattle and Pittsburgh, but, and I don't know. I don't know if it's him just not pulling the ball, if he is to hit it, but, yeah, done with Vogelbach. How do you feel about the MLB draft? Yeah, Lane, it's going to be an important draft. The Mets need to draft pitching. This team loves drafting catchers and shortstops. They love it. I don't know what their fascination is, but the Mets love drafting catchers and shortstops. Stop it. They need to stop that. If they do that this year, that's pretty bad. They need to draft pitching and outfield. That's the 2 positions in the farm system that they really lack. You don't have a whole lot of pitching prospects. I mean, say what you want about Blake Tidwell and Mike Vassell. Obviously, Matt Allen is recovering from Tommy John. And outfield prospects. You don't really have a lot of outfield prospects either. I mean, yeah. So it's gonna be a very interesting draft to see. I guess essentially, how their draft is going to look, but, they don't have a crazy high pick, but, the Mets have been having a good draft the last couple of years. Obviously, 2019 was a good year for the draft, 2020, 2021, last year so far. But yeah, the Mets have a lot, when it comes to the farm system, the Mets are packed with infielders. I mean, having all your guys the guys that are rookies right now with Beatty, Mauricio, Vientos, Alvarez. Obviously, you got guys like John Williams down in Single A, but yeah, no more catchers, no more catchers, no more shortstops. I am a big fan. Keep up with the good stuff. I appreciate you, man. How do you feel about the Reds? Yeah, the Reds are an interesting ball club. Obviously, they came in big surprise. They've been pretty good this year. A lot of guys that have kind of came out of the woods and been a big part to their success. Whether that's guys like Matt McClain, TJ Fradel, Stuart Fairchild. A lot of their prospects came up, and a lot of their pre-arbitration guys are really having a big part of their big part. Obviously, they recently called up top prospect Illy De La Cruz, and he's been doing pretty well as of lately. He's a guy that I actually saw. Actually, I live in Florida, so I've been to a couple Daytona Tortugas games. So I've seen him he was in Single A like 2-3 years ago. So yeah, they've been doing pretty well. Guy pitchers, Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Alexis Diaz in the bullpen. They've been a pretty good team this year. It's a tough division, so. But the fact is, last year to start off the season, they were historically horrible. But now they're doing pretty decent. Crossface, he says, "Do you think Max is washed?" I don't know if I'd say he's washed. I think Verlander and Scherzer are definitely not what they used to be. Do I think they're at least 75% of what they used to be? Probably not. I think they're probably maybe like halfway of what they used to be. But I don't know. Scherzer just has been horrible this season. Same for Verlander, and there's not going to sugarcoat it. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to use the term that they're washed, but we're coming into July, August, and they're still pitching really badly. Yeah, I think maybe time to label them as washed or just unreliable. They're very inconsistent. Like, you've seen the potential out of them. You've seen them have a quality start and go 4 or 5 games in a row. Cedric says, hardest MLB record to break, Cal Ripken. I think someone asked me this a couple of times before, but probably say Cal Ripken, just because with the analytics now these days, how guys just slap the ball, and you have guys that like Jeff McNeil and Luis Arias who just get hits, and stuff like launch angle and XBA. It doesn't matter. They just slap the ball and they get the world's lightest hit, and it's a hit. So that's why I think the hit streak is easily breakable. So, yeah, I think the hardest is Cal Ripken's record. Nah, Lane, they're not. I'd be very surprised. Kobe says, will Brandon Nimmo win a Gold Glove this season? Absolutely, yeah. I think there's a pretty good chance Nimmo can win a Gold Glove. I think Nimmo has really defensively, really shown what he's worth. Defensively, he saved plenty of games, plenty of runs from scoring, obviously, prevented a bases clearing double in Pittsburgh, obviously saved a walk-off from the Oakland Athletics. Nimmo's been a big success to this team on both sides, offensively and defensively. And yeah, say what you want about the one Yankees game, but this dude has carried this team. If Brandon Nimmo wasn't on this roster, I would wonder what this team record would be right now. He has carried this team. Not named Pete Alonso and Francisco Alvarez. Offensively, he's carried it. He's done more than Lindor. He's done more than McNeil. He's done more than everyone else in this offense besides, I would say, Alonso and Alvarez right now. Nimmo is finally playing like a $162 million outfielder, and arguably he could be worth more. Hitting for a high average. OPS is good. OBP is there. He's getting on base plenty of times, whether it's walks, hits, hit by pitches. Even if he gets it out, it's productive. He'll advance the guy over or something. Great speed defensively. But yeah, defensively, I think he'll win a Gold Glove. It's crazy to think, 5 years ago, he was one of the worst defensive players in the game. And now he is arguably one of the best. So, really goes to show you that, you could be more than capable of developing any player. And I remember when the Mets were, thinking of Giancarlo Stanton. And then, Sandy Alderson said, no, we have Brandon Nimmo. Man, how did that, turned out pretty well, I would say, right now. Stanton is, obviously dealing with a lot of health issues and getting older. And Nimmo is in his prime. So. MLB needs to bring back the Expos. Yeah, I think a team in Montreal would be nice. I actually did do my first ever video on this channel, like 2 years ago, was expansion teams, because that was, it was like October of 2020, and I think they were kind of talking about like expansion teams. And my first ever video on this channel was going over expansion teams, what cities I think would be appropriate for MLB to expand to. And I'm actually going to put the link to that in the chat. If you guys want to check it out, please do. My first ever video, so, cut me some slack with my face being like smushed on the camera and stuff. But if you guys want to check it out, I would love it. Like I said, I just put the link in the chat. If you guys want to watch it after this or now or save it for later, whatever you guys want. But yeah, I pretty much go over 5 MLB cities where MLB could expand to. I believe it's 5, yeah. And I would say they're pretty good options. I would say like 2 or 3 of them are not really on lists. And, I did a lot of like evidence with population, financial, other sports teams. And yeah, there's like 2, 3 cities on there where people have said to me like, I didn't, that's a good one. So yeah, I put the link in the chat if anyone wants to watch it. Please do. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think a team in Montreal would be good. Obviously, we know that there's been news that the Oakland Athletics are going to Las Vegas, most likely. Say 99% that's pretty much done deal. So obviously, we'll see. Maybe expansion is next. But where is the question. Do you send McGill down to AAA? Yeah, I mean, like I said in the beginning, this is going to be a big outing for McGill tonight. Crossface, what's going on? He says Mets need to take a page out of the A's fans' playbook. They do. Mets fans need to take a page out of the A's fans' playbook. They do. They do. But yeah, otherwise, we'll probably get ready to call it a stream here as we are just about on the hour mark. I really do appreciate everybody for tuning into today's stream. As always, like I said, if anyone else really has any more comments, questions, concerns, anything related to the Mets, baseball, Phillies, Padres, Expos, Nationals, whatever team you really want to call them now, please feel free to drop any comments in the comment section below. Otherwise, in today's stream, we did go over the New York Mets and the New York Yankees series subway, going over pretty much the good, the bad, and the ugly, what I liked, what we didn't like in that series. Then, of course, we went over the New York Mets and St. Louis Cardinals series preview, summary, my preview. Sorry, it's been a long day. And then we went over the New York Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals series preview, pretty much previewing what to expect out of both of these teams. Obviously, previewing what the Cardinals are going to look like, what the Mets are going to look like, what their pitching has been looking like, and of course the offense. So obviously, it should hopefully be a good series. Like I said, ambition and confidence is not really high right now, but they could take 2 or 3, I'll be happy. Anything less, and this team has kind of hit rock bottom to an extent this season. So it'd be nice to win a series and, maybe get the fans on track, because I'll tell you right now, you see Cohen on Twitter and you see fans on Twitter, they're not happy. Fans are going after Cohen. Fans are going after the Mets. Fans are not happy. And, I wouldn't be surprised this week if Citi Field is not very populated and it's very quiet. Fans are not happy and they need to wake up. There's no optimism, no expectations for this team right now because of the position they're in. And they need to change that soon, or else, it's going to be unfortunate. And listen, I'm going to come on here every stream and still talk about them, whether they lose every single game. I'm not going to be a bandwagon and say, oh, football, as much as, I say, oh, it's time for football. Of course, I'm joking, but yeah, they really need to step things up. So we'll see how it goes. But otherwise, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Please, everyone, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, tell your friends about this channel. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything related to the Mets, baseball, Major League Baseball, minor league baseball, college, high school baseball, I don't know. Feel free to comment it in the comment section below. If you are rewatching this on replay, I appreciate you guys for tuning into the stream as always. Otherwise, yeah, Mets, Cardinals play a 3-game set tonight, unless there's a rain out, and then obviously Saturday and Sunday. So, yeah, otherwise, I appreciate everyone for tuning into today's stream as always. Everyone, give this video a like, comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, tell your friends about this channel. Let's get to 800 subscribers, please. 800 subscribers is the goal. That is what we are shooting for. Let's get to 800 by the All-Star break. That would be ideal. Otherwise, let's get to 800 subscribers regardless. I don't care when. Let's get to it soon. That's what I'll say. So, yeah, otherwise, appreciate everyone for tuning in to today's stream as always. LFGM, let's go Mets. Till next time, baseball fans, see ya.